So we have our afternoon session, and we've already done the walking meditation, looking at the sensation of touch and the body scan. We've looked through the nature of mindfulness, that mindfulness itself is attention without distraction, that we choose a familiar object, strengthened by repetition, returning to the object again and again, and that introspection allows us to, or alerts us to, the distractions and dullness. So, on its own, mindfulness, before we go on, we should do a brief remembering of our motivation. So go ahead and settle into being here. It's been so exciting walking down the hall, so we have to settle down again. And just bring our mind into that focus of why am I doing this? Just what? Why? Oh yeah, that. In order to develop the mind completely so that it's capable of actually being of benefit to others. Having something to say, being able to express it perfectly, knowing how it's going to be heard, and so then adjusting before you say what you're going to say. So making those adjustments because you already understand the minds of others, you understand the material you're working with, and you have this perfect concept that you're communicating. All of these working together, that's the ability of a Buddha. Knowing how to present something to someone else so that it makes the biggest transformation in the right direction. Okay, so we have these already. And this is the theoretical, the teacherly talk, and here's the condensed version, so we'll look at that one. So in combination with intending to develop concentration, meditative concentration, such as shamatha, calm abiding. There are levels of calm abiding. There's a whole technique of developing calm abiding, and we're using mindfulness in that context. The purpose is, in that context, to develop concentration. And in the process of developing concentration, we actually calm disturbances. We calm disturbances in our body. We figure out how to let go of all those tensions. We calm disturbances in our mind. We figure out how to separate the mind from those stuck places and become something other than those emotions, other than those destructive tendencies. So we create a calming of all of those disturbances, physical and mental. There are two types of obstacles. Do you know what they are?
Distraction and dullness.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Dullness, falling asleep, dullness, sleepiness, that lack of sharpness of the mind, and distraction, that agitation where the mind is just going on whatever comes along and is just running with it. Totally agitated. It's a state of agitation, really, where distraction is just the excuse. The agitation is the kind of state. So being able to apply mindfulness, which is holding on an object without any distraction. Remember our definition of mindfulness was basically being able to focus on, have attention placed on an object without distraction. So applying mindfulness, focusing on an object without distraction, and introspection, which alerts us to the dullness or the distraction, the two types of obstacles. This is a remedy for that compulsory, involuntary thinking. So this is like a fine distinction, because we're saying you can focus on thinking, right? But if it's compulsory, if it's, you can't stop and just focus on one idea or thought or single-pointed concentration in the mental sphere, if you're just distracted from whatever you choose as your object by this incessant, unceasing, continual, and not what you've chosen, so involuntary. So if it's interfering with your voluntary decision to develop mindfulness, right? That's the difference. So it's the thoughts themselves are not the problem. It's how our mind is handling them. So when a distracting thought comes into our mind, whether we see it, recognize it for a thought, and if we don't automatically follow it and make the story bigger than it is. Sorry?
Identify with.
If we don't identify with the thoughts, and we're keeping our identity on another aspect of the mind, the nature of the mind, or our mindfulness itself, the remedy for those compulsory, involuntary thoughts is mindfulness and introspection. This is how we're training our mind away from identifying with thoughts. Benefits of stabilizing meditation, which is this meditative concentration, are calming the dysfunctional reactivities of the body and mind. So when I read that, I first thought of asthma. You know, if you have asthma and you meditate and you calm that, and you learn how to calm the physical overreaction, that's what came to my mind. If we have that constant stream of, I need this, I need that, I need this, like compulsory buying. If we were addicted to consume, going out and buying things, shopaholic, right? If we were shopaholics, well, we might stabilize our concentration and see the benefit, and we might not need to go shopping so much. Just to go shopping. Yeah. Does that make sense as an example, or have I confused you?
No, it's okay.
It's okay. So the purpose is to develop concentration if we apply it there. When we scanned the body, we were looking more at the nature of mindfulness than a consistent placement on an object, right? We were looking at how the mind takes an object and clearly holds it for just a little bit, a very short period of time. Overall, it was a long period of time, but small object by small object, it was a very short period of time, right? This part of the body, then this part of the body, then this part of the body, then this part of the body. If we are working on a meditative concentration, we're going to take away the element of that change. We're going to have one small. That's why I had you decide whether you were going to breathe, pay attention to the breathing at the site of the nostrils or at the site of the diaphragm, so that you have one object that doesn't change location. And then we're going to do this in the context of training on meditative stabilization or concentration. So it's focusing the mind slightly differently. You know what the object is. It's not going to change for the entire length of the session. And what's going to be the process of focusing is using introspection to alert you, oh, now I'm thinking about the color I'm going to paint the room next week, or now I'm going to think about the weather, and now I'm going to think about my plans, oh, now I'm thinking about what happened yesterday. Those thoughts are going to be the distractions that you're going to let go of, not identify with. You're just going to come back to the sensations either at the nostrils or at the diaphragm. Make sense? So your mindfulness and your introspection are more directly concentrated on that one spot, one object. You want to try it? You ready? Okay. We're going to focus on the breath, on breathing. So we set up our base. We create the conditions for a stable meditation. So physically, we set up our body. We can have a straight back, not ramrod straight, not stiff, relaxed but upright, connecting the base to the sky and in a balanced posture so that it's not one shoulder's way up in the air and the other's not. So you can go side to side. You can kind of find the middle, find the balance. And front to back, you can do the same kind of thing. You might want to put your tongue to the tip of the, behind the teeth at the roof of the mouth, the tip of the tongue back there. The eyes might be slightly open with light coming in, because we noticed, maybe you noticed, but if you leave your eyes slightly open, then dullness doesn't creep in quite so fast. But if you open them too much, distraction has more of an avenue into your sphere of consciousness. And your hands could be in the lap. I put my right hand on top of my left hand, thumbs touching. Or they could be at the knees, and you can make a little circle with your finger and your thumb. These are good ways to kind of have an extra tool of introspection. When your thumb and first finger part ways, you have lost your object of concentration. It just kind of naturally drifts apart. And the same with the thumbs touching each other in the lap. When the two thumbs part, it means, oh, I think I need to bring my attention back to the object of meditation. Set your intention. And we're going to do a shorter period of time so that we can get an experience of it. Okay, there we go. So we're going to do 7 minutes. It's a little bit long, but we're going to do 7 minutes. And that will give us time to really get into it, but not be too long. So the bell will ring at the beginning and the end of this 7-minute session. So just saying to yourself, I'm going to do this for training my mind. And that means that I'm going to put my best effort into staying with the object. Remind yourself which object you want. Tip of the nostrils and the air flowing in and out, or the diaphragm moving in and out with the breath. Have that clear in your mind. And here we go. Oh. So you relax your attention, smile a little bit, just so that you can rejoice in the effort that you made. And recognize that knowing how much to put effort in and how much to relax becomes really important. I heard a couple of sighs and I imagined what that meant. I don't know what it really meant, but imagine, if you try too hard, you get frustrated. If you try too little, you don't even realize that you aren't doing, right? So you want to find some sort of a middle way between attempting to do it really well and recognizing that you're doing it, but you need to do it better, but not do it. It's like this balance of self-critical balance, right? So that introspection, how much to apply the mind to readjusting and how to do that is a matter of experimenting. So you gently bring it back. You consistently come back to the same object. The other thing I noticed, and maybe you had something else as well, so after I say this you can tell me what you saw. The other thing I noticed was this mental projection of what I should be feeling. Instead of actually feeling and sensing something, I was looking for it to be the way I thought it should be. And then I had to adjust and say, okay, that's a mental idea being placed on a sensory experience. Let me try to find the experience again. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you need to kind of watch what your mind is doing, and if it's a sensory object, you need to stay on the sensory object and not on a mental understanding of what that should be. Complicated? Simple. I mean, it's so simple in a way. Yeah. I make things complicated. Anything I touch, I make complicated. Sorry. So maybe that's my fault in presenting it. But basically, when you're walking and you're feeling the sense of the touch, right? It's a sensory object unless your mind gets distracted and starts to walk, right? So the difference between I'm walking and I'm sensing the touch on the bottom of my foot. I'm breathing, or I'm focusing versus that's the sensation. That's the difference. I'm focusing. If you're thinking, I'm focusing on my breath. If you're thinking, I'm focusing on my nose, rather than that sensation, following this continuum of sensation without interruption.
The movement of the sensation.
The movement
Of the sensation.
of the sensation. Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure where I heard this, but someone told me to notice if I get lost, to try to focus if the in-breath is more deep or more shallow than the out-breath, and it can help me get back, I think, to where I got lost. But when I think about it, it's confusing me. It does not help me. So I'm not sure I understood right the instruction.
Well, I think you have to watch your reaction, right? So if anybody gives you instruction, then you try it, and then Are you on the sensation? So as the breath, another way to say it would be follow the breath the whole way through.
I mean, like with curiosity.
With curiosity.
Be like to notice it every time, not to think you know what will be the next breath.
Right.
Try to see, oh, it changes, it's different or something.
Right.
Like
So
that.
you can actually start remembering all the breaths as well. I mean, because you're so focused on each one, you're having an experience. And when you're having an experience, memory becomes something that's like happens with that. And so then you could come back and you could kind of replay your breath, right? We could try it. We could try 2 breaths, right? That we're totally focused on the entire breath. And then come out of that and see if we could remember the entire breath. When we have an experience and we're engaged with the experience, it's not hard to remember.
But then I'm not in the moment. Like,
That would be after. That would just be a test afterwards, right? How much, so that you're not worried about remembering it in the moment. It's more, okay, I'm experiencing this as completely as I can, as thoroughly as I can. Every single split second, my awareness is on that. That's the quality of focusing on the sensation. Right? When we are sensing anything, whatever you're sensing right now, when you put your full attention on it, it expands. It's like there's much more happening there than if you just kind of were aware that you were itchy, or you were aware that something was sort of on the side, but your attention was somewhere else. Not sure I'm making any sense. Were you able to feel like most of the time you were on the object that you intended? That's good. Did anybody hear the birds? Wow. Now you can hear them. And they're quiet right now, but somewhere in the beginning, middle, they were quite loud. Yeah. So that's good. That's better than me. I heard the birds.
That's what your attention was.
Yes, I heard my thoughts. Something else.
So what happened when you heard your thoughts? Did your mind absorb into those thoughts, or did you recognize right away, that's a thought? Oh, I'm intending this. This is what I'm doing. How long did you follow the thought before you were like, nope, back here, back here, back here? That process is the point. So, some people really are disturbed that their thoughts are coming in all the time and interfering with the practice. But the practice isn't don't have any thoughts. The practice is when you have a thought, what do? You bring your attention back to the sensation. That's the practice. That's the returning again and again to the object. So that's the training that we're doing for our mind at this stage, especially of bringing it back to the object that we intend. You guys done for the day? You tired? No? How are we doing with time? Want to do another one? Do you want to do a short one and try to make it even more concentrated? Okay. Because 7 minutes was a long time. How about 4? Or 3?
7 is okay. Wait, 4.
Well, we're going to go for 3 or 4.
4.
4. I hear 4. I hear 4.
First time, second time.
And what you want to do now is sort of challenge yourself. Okay, I've got the basic idea. Now I'm gonna put a little bit more energy, but not so much that putting in of energy distracts me even more. So it's not about trying too hard. It's really a relaxation. It's a strange thing. It's like I'm going to relax my mind to keep it focused. Have I made it too complicated?
Fine.
All right? So that's your idea, is you're going to do it even better, but you're going to be more relaxed doing it. Okay. Ready? All right. We're just getting started, right? Anybody wanna put into words or ask a question?
I think the session helped. Your way of describing, for me, it helped kind of click a little bit.
So this one was easier?
Yeah, that in a way. I experience when I'm more relaxed, it's easier. When I get tense with some kind of thought or whatever, then it was harder.
Yeah. And like I think you were talking about tensions in your body, and I recognize, oh, I'm really trying. My hip is starting to go, and so then I just like thought to myself, well, I can relax that. That doesn't have to be there, right? And let that go. So if your body is giving you feedback during the process and starting to interrupt, you don't have to go into it, but you can just send the message, oh, you can relax, I'll back off, I won't be so intense. I also thought about the breath, and whether it's longer or shorter on the in and out, and I was realizing you can also tell, like, is it more coming into one side or the other side, or is it balanced? Not to force it into the other, but to bring more curiosity. Bring more curiosity about, like, well, which one is it? Is it longer or shorter? Instead of, it should be balanced. Which one is it? Which way does it go? Does it go longer on the in-breath and shorter on the out-breath? Maybe bringing it into a question mark instead of, oh, I should have been doing it some other way.
Yeah, I managed to do it now. I noticed how it changes, like what you said, like 3 or 4 times, it changes I felt more the in-breath, 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 and suddenly it changed. I felt more the out-breath, the out-breath, the out-breath. Then it was simultaneously, I felt them both really strong. And then again, the out-breath. So the curiosity helped me, like, be more open to feel.
Yeah, feel more.
Aren't they only techniques in order to keep us on track? All this counting, or I don't know what you mentioned, looking, because this is analyzing already, it's not concentrating.
Right, so
It's a helpful tools, but it's a technique, it's not the main point.
That's
helping us
right.
to grow up into it.
That's right. So sometimes people say, oh, you count to 10 and see if you can make it to 10 before you've forgotten to count to 10, that you're counting. Count how many breaths, and then usually by the time you get to 3 or 4, you've forgotten that you're counting, But that is, like you're saying, it's a technique. There are other ways of attempting to focus the concentration.
Still leaving the mind in interest, these techniques. Because it's very boring to look at the same.
Except that it changes all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is,
But we don't need to analyze.
right. What happens is that you start to see more, like they split it into, I said this already, right? 64 in a snap. 64 parts in one moment that long.
64 what? I didn't send
Moments. So within this length of time, there are 64 parts that you can mentally distinguish between.
that we can distinguish. Wow.
And so, within that period of time, 64 things have happened.
least.
At least, right?
64 we can realize.
Yeah.
She said.
Right. So if we have an experience of our mind calming down, we have more space for awareness of all the things that are happening in our mind. So a lot of the time we think, oh, I'm even worse now because I'm definitely thinking away from my object even more now. But what's happening is your mind has become a little more subtle, and it's a little more aware of the smaller increments of time, whereas before it was just lumped all together. Right? So as you progress through it and you start noticing more distractions, you have to be a little bit curious. Oh, is this because I'm more distracted today? Or is this because I'm more subtle and my mind is actually able to see more of what's going on?
Or more aware.
Yes. More aware of the minute distractions that happen, yeah. Like we generally kept our mind on the body as we scanned, right? That's a very general, very coarse level, very not subtle level. But when we get to the breath, we're refining it quite a bit. We're looking at it, and then we notice more distraction because we're more refined. Well, we only have 20 more minutes, or 10 more minutes. You want to try another 4 minutes? Okay, so what I suspect is unless we create some energy, but also create some real all right, I'm going to relax, but I'm going to try even better to be focused on the experience, not some counting or external projection of what the experience would be, not worrying about whether it's this side or that side or obvious or not obvious, but really be focused on the experience in the moment. All right? Are you ready? On your mark. Get set. Go. So with this quiet mind, just continue to sit here for a moment while we do a dedication. Reminding ourselves of the motivation we had at the beginning of the day. Whatever our own reason, our personal reason for being here, bringing some benefit to ourselves, becoming more capable of something, having some relaxation or healing, wanting new tools for concentration or for creativity. We've expanded those out into a vast number of objects to benefit from our actions today. So those thoughts we've had, those conversations we've had, and the actions of sitting here, not harming anyone, training our minds. All this effort can ripen in a way that benefits not only myself, but as many sentient beings as exist, countless beings that I can see, countless beings flying in the air, crawling in the earth, swimming in the oceans, and countless beings I can't see. I want to benefit all of them, honestly, and spontaneously. So all of this training of the mind is for that purpose, so that I can become an enlightened being, totally capable of helping others without mistake. So feel that sense of accomplishment at having attempted some new tools in mindfulness, applied old tools, and dedicate all of this for that great awakening. So thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time together. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Same time, same place.